Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to allow electronic participation with policy BEDM.
All right, we have a motion to amend the agenda to include electronic participation. All those in favor? Is that right? Did I do it right? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. All right. We'll begin then.
All right, thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate you all being here. So we have a few items on the agenda as information we want to share with you, and then we want to have some discussion on some data, some interim data. We want to just brief you on that as well. So you should have in front of you, this is the case study. This is the case study. As a leadership team, we've read this case study. What this case study just outlined is some work that's happening in Charleston County School District, 3 hours up the road or down the road, wherever. And some of the work that they're doing are the same work that we're doing here in Cherokee County. So as a leadership team, we read this morning just to kind of confirm the things that we're doing, and not to say that we are just creating these things to do because we feel like it's going to work, but we are really being very intentional, very strategic when we come up with different ways and to support student outcomes, and that districts in our state, they're doing the same things and seeing the impact and the results. And so we just wanted you all to have this so you can have some confirmation that what we're doing here in Cherokee County has worked and is working in other districts. And so we just wanted to make sure that everybody is bought into that and just feel a little bit more confident that the work that we're doing is intentional and strategic, but we also know it's a lot of work. So we wanted to provide you with that so you can read at your leisure. And then the team here, if they want to share something that they felt that stood out to them as we reviewed this case study.
This morning when we were talking about why it matters, we were given this earlier over the weekend so we could ponder some of these things. And so we started looking at some of the things that Charleston County was doing, such as looking at the high quality materials that was used. They started looking at what could make that impact for students. They were looking at what happens in that classroom with the school is that impact, and how we will help to support that, meaning from the district level. So we were feeling pretty good when we were looking at some of this, although they started in 2019 and they did this study through 2025, about 6 years, they were seeing those changes. And although we're seeing some incremental changes, we're hoping too that we're going into year 3, that we continue to see that trajectory. I think that is one of the things that we were talking about as far as how we're seeing things when we're going into the classrooms. Dr. Dukes has given us many opportunities to do that as far as going in using Classroom Mosaic. We have a tool now that everyone is using. So we're looking for some of those same things, correct? And then when we go and talk with them through some of the leading educators' focal points that they're having with the principals, we're all speaking that same language. So that is one of the things that I took from that we're trying to do, so that we're all, speaking that same language, and not necessarily buy-in, but we're seeing that through our benchmarks, through diagnostics, and then our SC Ready. How do we continue to look at that and see how we can continue making those changes that we see across the district? And I'm like Dr. Dukes, it's happening in Charleston County, it's happening in other districts, and they're seeing that. Okay. So once we start to see that, and we are, then we can continue with that trajectory. Because I'd love to see that we go up 24 percentage points in ELA, like Charleston County, or 11% in the math. We want to see that. We can do that here. but we've gotta make those, I guess, intentional, like Dr. Dukes was saying, intentional changes. And keep that. Sustainability is gonna be huge. It doesn't matter who that principal is or the teacher, that culture of the school, that sustainability needs to continue. So that's what I got from what they were doing.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that too. Actually, there's the heading there that says designed for durability. And I think that once you see something like this put into place with the common language and everything that's been going on, then it doesn't matter who the teacher is or who the instructional leaders are or anything like that. It's the system that's in place that doesn't change. And that's what we're trying to change and what we're trying to see take place. Which again, baby steps, you know, it takes a minute for those kind of things to happen. But I think if we can change the system, then regardless of who comes in behind us or whatever, then that system is in place and it doesn't change and we'll continue to see results.
So it talks a lot about the HQIM, the highly quality instructional materials, and that's not just a state thing, that's a national thing that's happening across every district across the nation. And so Charleston County, like every other county, selected HQIM for ELA and math. And they provided PLC, they provided the professional development, the support to make that happen within PLC, and they provided the leadership, the accountability that goes behind that as well. And so we know it's a lot of work, we know that, just trying to put it in place. But we believe that if we continue to do the work, we will see the fruits of our labor. We may not see it all today, but we're seeing little pieces of it. And so what we're trying to convey to our teachers and to our principals is just continue to do the work. Yeah. In Charleston, it took 6 years, but they have 52,000 students. We have 7,500, so can we do it in 3 or in 4? But we still want people to understand that we're not just pulling these initiatives out of the sky. These are things that are working in districts in the state of South Carolina, as not just in Charleston, but Spartanburg too is doing the same thing. Exactly. And so they've had some success. And so we're just trying to build that momentum, try to get people to understand that this too shall not pass, because I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, this too will pass at some point. But we want everybody to know it's not going to pass. We really we would love to have 100% buy-in, right? But right now we're just pushing for 80.
Okay.
We're just pushing for 80%. We would love to have.
You think you
100.
have 80?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
60?
Good step though, because it gives the system credibility, knowing that others are doing it, and credibility helps with anything. So I think it's a good step. Are you going to share this with district-wide? Is that the?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think definitely, we're definitely on the right path. I think one of the things that we talked about in our cabinet meeting last week was, when things or information, coaching directives are shared from the curriculum team, my expectation is that teachers, principals should close their eyes and see me. If it's coming from them, it's coming from me. And so I think the amount of support that we're going to give the curriculum team, we're talking about accountability and responsibility, then anything that comes out of C&I, to principals, they close their eyes. They should see me when they see them, same voice, and support, and I think that will definitely help also.
And to that point, Dr. Fitzpatrick, I do believe that folks understand what's expected now, at least from just what I hear anecdotally. There's no data associated with that, just what I hear, right? They understand what the expectations are. I think the part that comes next is the accountability piece. There is no one magic bullet. We all know that. If high quality instructional materials were the magic bullet, every school district in this nation would adopt them and that would be it, right? We have to have high quality teachers, high quality teaching. You have to have students that are prepared and ready to learn when they walk into the classroom.
Right.
Parents, of course, have to be bought in. All those pieces go into that recipe, right? And we have to figure out what ours is. But I think it's time that we really, and I do not mean this in a negative way whatsoever, but we've got to figure out who's bought in and who hasn't. And that accountability piece, the rubber has to meet the road. Because if not, then we're just gonna have folks who hold their breath like they have for so long, and are just gonna wait for this to pass, right? And if it doesn't, then, you know, they'll move on or, you know, fly under the radar. But we need to be serious about this. It's the only way, it's the way that you all tell us that we're going to move the needle. We're bought into it. So, I mean, go into year 3, I think it's time to get serious about it.
And we're looking at different ways of how we allocate resources in our department. This past year, we spend 50% of our time in a school, and that can be sitting in a PLC with a group of teachers, that can be observing teachers, that can be planning with them. I know Dr. Blanton has coached several teachers in the elementary setting, so we are doing that work because we feel that it's important work. And a few years ago, you all approved for us to have instructional coaches in every building. And I think in the majority of those buildings, that has been a game changer for our teachers. But we also realize that some of those coaches, some of those schools need more than one. So we have worked to kind of reshuffle some of that, to put some of those coaches in our schools that really, really, really need more coaching support than others. I think all teachers need coaching, right? I think everybody should have a coach. But I think in some schools, like Luther Vaughn, we couldn't just stick with one coach. Based on what happened this past year, we know next year we're gonna have to reallocate, and we're gonna have 2 coaches at Luther Vaughn. Because they're gonna need it. Because they're gonna have a transition of another principal, and they will also have a transition of a lot of staff members. And so there will be some new staff members coming in, new to the district, new to the profession. Either way, we feel that another person could spend their time there supporting. And so we've done some reallocation there and shifting of some resources. And we'll continue to do that based on the need. I mean, you know, and after this year, we may not need 2 there. We can put her back where she started, but we may need her to stay a little bit longer, and she's open to that. So our coaches are more flexible than they were before, because now they're trained, they feel comfortable, and they're willing to go and serve at another school if we need them to, so they're open to that.
You can think of it in terms of support like you would in your classroom. You know that everybody doesn't need the same thing. I mean, you can't teach one way and expect everybody to get it.
Yeah.
So we're kind of thinking about our schools that way. Which schools could benefit from a higher level of support, and which ones can benefit from, you know, they're still going to get what they need, but it's not going to be as much as other schools. So we're trying to think about it in terms of what's needed, the need. Are we meeting the needs of the schools?
Because Dr. Dukes gave us like tier 1 schools, tier 2 schools. You know, here they need a little bit more. This one maybe not. But you know, like you said, when we were going in schools, we knew that we may have to go back the next month, or you know, or the next week, or spend time with the instructional coaches and the principal, because they were a tier 1 school. Tier 2, maybe not as much, but we had to make sure that we looked at those resources and gave that time to them.
Did another school go without a coach to move?
No.
No, every school will still have
Okay.
one.
Everybody's going to get.
They're still gonna get their coaching.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Maybe just take them for one day.
We're gonna have, one will be serving one school 2 days, and then the other school 3 days.
Okay.
And so right now, we're looking for Ewing. We're looking at the coach at Ewing. She resigned, and she's going to Greenville to do the same thing.
Oh.
So you know, you train them up, and they leave us.
Oh,
So we gotta hire for Ewing. One of the coaches at Gaffney Middle, we train her up. Now she's going to work for the state, but she will still be serving
Yeah,
our
she will be
schools
serving
as a
our
math coach, as a a state map coach,
Okay.
so that's helpful. And then we had one from the elementary school who got an AP job in Spartanburg. So
Okay.
as you train them up and they get good in what they do, they start looking. But we also had some teachers that I think didn't believe in coaching when it first started,
Right.
didn't want those coaches in their classroom, and 2 of those coaches will be instructional coaches next year.
Because
Well, that's good.
they were so overwhelmed by the success in the classrooms and
Wow.
with the coaching.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we did change some minds.
Yeah.
That was such a big investment for us to make, but I
Ah.
can't think of a time, and y'all help me remember, when Dr. Dukes or his team has come to us through the superintendent and asked for something that we have not been supportive of. I mean, if you come and make your case on the instructional side, I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Right.
So just know that we're here to support and to back you, especially as we go into budget season.
We appreciate that.
And I mean, we know the resources are limited, but there's nothing more important
Yeah,
than providing those classrooms with what they need.
we appreciate it. Thank you. Any other questions on the
Dr. Dukes, I would say one thing that assistant principals, there's going to be a heavy focus on professional development for assistant principals, and instructional leadership is going to be a big part of that. So that's going to help also.
Speaking of professional development, we have a summer professional development catalog that starts next month. We have over 460 hours of professional development that we will offer this summer for teachers starting in June, all of June and all of July. Obviously teachers, we're not asking them to give up their summer. We are providing them with opportunities over the summer to earn professional development hours. The 24 required by the state, we're offering them an opportunity to get as many as they possibly can through the summer so that they don't have to, stay after school for PD in certain situations, but we are pushing hard for teachers to register for summer professional development. And like I said, we have over 450 hours available. And Lauren has really done a lot of the work
She has worked.
on that.
Right.
So,
And that'll go towards like renewal credits and
goes,
things like that.
yes, sir, renewal credit.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
And
So a lot of these professional developments are designed based on what principals have said their schools needed to.
And what teachers have said they
And
needed.
also aligns with our teacher clarity and all the priorities
Yeah.
that we've put into place. So everybody's worked really hard to
Yeah,
make
so-
sure that we're all aligned.
so everything's aligned, nothing's brand new. Like we didn't start something
Right.
last year and we're not doing any more of it. We are continuing teacher clarity to deepen that practice. We have information in there on PLCs, HQIM. Scaffolding is something really big that we need to spend more time on, and so we have a lot of professional development there, because what we've heard from teachers, kids are coming in 2, 3 grade levels behind. We know that. That's not a shock, but you gotta have the resources and the tools to be able to support those kids. And so that's why we're spending a lot of time in that area this summer, and we'll continue on. Principals have asked for small group instruction, PD. We have set that up to happen throughout the summer, starting at summer leadership, but it will continue through January. Our goal is to train all 3 through 8, teachers in small group by January, because that's what principals have asked for, so that's our goal. Pretty lofty goal, but
Great.
we're gonna try to get that done.
It's set up on the calendar anyway.
It's set up on the calendar,
Right.
let's just say that, it's set up on the calendar. Summer Leadership Conference, I think I sent you all an invite, that's June 1st through 3rd, so if you can participate in any of those days or one of those days, we would appreciate you being there, showing the support for what we're doing. June 4th is our CCSD first math conference. This past year, we sent one teacher from every school to the state math conference in Greenville. And then we sent a group of teachers to the national conference in Atlanta. So those teachers are coming back and they will present in a conference style format. They'll have different sessions. So we will hold that on the 4th at Gaffney High School. So those teachers and administrators that participated that went on that conference, they will come back and they will hold that math conference. And right now, we have 77 teachers registered.
Oh, good.
Our goal is 100,
Okay.
so I think we'll get that. But we've also opened it up for Spartanburg 2 math teachers as well, because we have formed a very good partnership with their team over there, so we kind of open it up for them as well.
That's great.
June 4th. All right, so any questions so far? All right.
Good stuff.
The next two things, three things. In June, I will come to the board for approval for an innovative course, a social studies elective. So the 2 high schools would like to create or reauthorize a course to support U.S. history, where the kids that are struggling or they believe, looking at the data, need additional support in U.S. history will take a pre-U.S. history course in the 10th grade or in the 10th grade,
the 10th or the 11th,
or the semester before they take U.S.
right.
history.
Okay.
So we are putting the final touches on that proposal from the school, and we're talking to the principals. I think we're waiting on a scope and sequence.
Yes.
Once we get that, we'll bring it to the board in June for approval to be implemented in August. So,
How do you identify those students?
test scores.
Yes.
Okay.
8th grade test scores.
8th grade.
Basically,
Okay.
yes.
Mhm.
And looking at English 2, once they get in there,
Okay.
because that would be all the data that we actually have,
Okay.
so.
Is it essentially U.S. history, like smaller, I don't know the right words to use, just a lesser information, or is it just kind of teaching them how to learn history
Right.
better instead of the same exact material that they'll again learn in U.S. history?
So in U.S. history, there are only 5 standards,
Okay.
and it covers 100 years, over 100
Yes.
years. So what they're looking to do is to split it, maybe do 2 standards here, and then the other 3 standards in the actual U.S. history course, and then the student would take the EOC at the end of the U.S. history course. So I think their mindset is we need to give them more time to do the 5 standards, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But even though we're giving them more time, the teacher still, like you mentioned before, it has to be really good teaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't just go, you gotta really teach that standard. We also had the young lady from the State Department who develops the U.S. history test. She came and did a training just for U.S. history teachers in March.
Yes.
And she pretty much told them, this is what you need to cover. Don't spend any time here, you need to do this. Because she's the one that writes the test.
Wow.
So we're hoping that they would utilize that information and not spend so much time talking about
All right.
World War I when there's only going to be 1 question on the test. So she was here to provide that professional development for them back in March.
Right.
Yeah. And so out of that, I think the course is where that's where they decided they wanted to do that.
And they're working with the instructional coach and both high schools, after talking with those principals and Dr. Gibson, who will be coming. He was involved in the conversation too that we had. And so they are working together, and we've given them a deadline to get that to us so Dr. Dukes can look at it before we bring it to you all. So,
We'll send it to Dr. Fitzpatrick first.
yes. Right. Yes.
Then we'll send it to you.
I'll send it to him and he'll send it to me.
Yeah.
But that is what they were working on, because the principals asked for this.
Okay.
We were actually sitting in this room when we were looking at the registration guide, and they were saying, we gotta do something, you
Gotta
know,
do
to
something.
help
Yeah.
with the U.S. history, because, you know, just let's be honest, when do our kids really get that history that they need before they get into the 11th grade, right?
What do we look like right now with U.S. history EOC?
We haven't, we don't take
We
the
don't
U.S.
know.
I know we
history.
did, but last
Last
semester, I guess, or the last time we took it. I was thinking last spring.
You mean
last fall,
the fall.
Yeah, last fall.
We
Yeah.
can, we
Well,
have some data we'll share. with
Yes.
you.
Okay, so that's coming up.
Yep. Any other questions on that? So the need the teachers are asking for is they want more clarity around the clarity that we already have provided to them.
That's fair.
Right?
Yes.
Right? So, our team, along with, because we have coaches that come in and coach us as well, we have developed a guiding principles of instruction that we will share with all of our teachers here pretty soon. Our principals have given us feedback on this document. Our lead teachers at every school has given us feedback on this document. Who else has given us feedback?
So far, we've had principals and coaches and lead teachers.
And lead teachers have given us feedback on this document. What they're asking for is, can we be more clear in what our expectations are for the classroom? And so we have done that, and we want to share that with you, but principals have already asked. When you hear from our principals, well, I'm not a math teacher. I can't go in and give feedback on math instruction. Or I'm not an English teacher. I cannot give feedback on ELA instruction. So we feel that this document will not only help the teacher, it will help the principal craft the correct feedback to give the teacher, regardless of what subject area they're in, or whatever subject area if they're in ELA, you can give, based on this document, you can give a teacher feedback from this document to that teacher. Because again, we're not asking the principal to be the content specialist, we're asking the principal to be the instructional specialist. The teacher is the content specialist. So I'm gonna turn it over to these ladies.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you kind of an overview because I'm not going to read all of this, but just so you know some commonalities. So every page in here, it's all broken down into ELA, math, social studies, and science. We have the grade bands listed for everything except for social studies and science, and those are separated. I mean, those are all together because that will be pretty consistent. But our ELA, you'll see it goes from kindergarten K-5, and then 6-8, and then 9-12.
Yeah.
And so,
ELA is first, and then math.
ELA is first, and they'll go through all of them, and then math. Each one of them will have our vision statement at the top, and then some overall expectations, I guess you'd say, like some practices that we think need to be in place in order to see what you want to see when you walk in the classroom. So the vision statement is there, and then it says, here's why we're doing this. We teach, for example, we teach ELA so students become strong readers, writers, thinkers, and communicators who can engage deeply with complex text and ideas. So that's just one of those, this is why we're doing what we're doing, because we wanted to make sure there's a why there for everybody to go through. And then each of the guiding principles each guiding principle page shows some pretty high-level tasks and some teaching practices that are expected when you walk into that classroom, or so that teachers know, here's what I should be doing in my classroom. So if you kind of overview that one. Now I will tell you that there was a discussion between all of us from everybody in the C&I department when we were doing this. We really struggle with putting times on these things. So if you've ever been in education and the first thing you do, you look at that time. You mean I've got to spend 60 minutes in whole group? Well, what if? You know, so we really went back and forth with that. But in order for us to be as clear and as concise as we can to make sure that everybody understands that there's 120 minutes of ELA instruction, with 30 of that being an intervention time for the classroom. This has nothing to do with your pullouts, your resources. This is expected of the classroom teacher, and that is state, that's not us. So that we decided, okay, in order for that message to be clear, we need to make sure everybody sees that. So we wrote those down, what it would look like for each one. So we're expecting maybe when the teachers get this rolled out, we might get some, kickback from that, and if so, we'll see how we can readjust or whatever.
But our principals asked for this.
But our principals did ask for this, and because they wanted to know too.
Right.
So that's.
So if you look at where Dr. Blanton mentioned the vision, then she talks about the why. If you look underneath that, those 4 bullets, think about that as what the students will be doing in the classroom. So those first 4 bullets where it says practice, you see where? That's what we expect students to do in every classroom, in every ELA classroom. So when we go into that classroom, the students should be engaging in complex text, regardless of what grade level he or she's in. And then that next set of bullets where it says in Cherokee County, the ELA classrooms will, that's what the teachers are to be doing. Okay, so if we're just breaking it down from the perspective of the student, the teacher, and then the next thing is what the teacher will do in PLC. Okay, so we wanted to break that down for you, what the students are doing, what the teacher should be doing, and what should be happening in the planning process in order to make this happen or make this a reality for students. And we clearly align what our HQIM is, and then we kind of look at breaking it down a little bit. Yes, it's 120 minutes of instruction, and like Dr. Blanton said, 30 minutes of that can be used for intervention. But you wouldn't be intervening every day. That intervention may only take place 2 to 3 times a week, because at first you have to launch it and begin the instruction, and then at some point throughout the week, if you realize that a group of students are not getting it, then you would go into your 30 minutes of intervention time within the classroom block. So we wanted to be very, very clear that what you're using in planning is the HQIM, along with the additional supports, supplemental resources that we are providing to teachers as well. So we wanted to be as, I don't know if this is the right word, crystal clear as we needed to be, because what we've seen so much inconsistencies across the board. And so what we're trying to do now is establish cohesiveness across all schools, all grade levels. This is what is expected for you as a teacher. This is what students should be doing. And as an administrator, now we've told you what should be happening in an ELA classroom. You should now feel comfortable taking this document with you and giving that teacher feedback. So if you walk into a classroom as a principal, and I was not an English teacher, if I see a student reading, if we're in, say, 8th grade or 5th grade, and I see a student reading something that a kindergarten student should be reading, that's not complex text for that grade level. So as an administrator, I can say that is not a complex text, because that is a 1st grade textbook that you're using to teach 5th grade ELA. So as an administrator, I can now give that feedback because I know what text they should be using in that 5th grade classroom now. Whereas before, I may not have known.
If you look at the second page, like after that, the second one kind of breaks it down even further. And so it kind of gives you those part 1, part 2, part 3 sections of the day. And there's a note at the bottom to note that, you know, you may not always get to do every section every day, because it's just, that's unthinkable. You can't do that. That you have to kind of prioritize based on what students need. So we've allowed that in there, and we've also allowed the supplementary resources in there, so that again, when a principal walks in, if you're using Teachers Pay Teachers, then I know that this is not on our list. So we've tried to be as clear and make it's a little bulky at first when you first look at it, but once you kind of get the explanation, you can see it's really not that bulky. It just kind of breaks it all up. And so if you know what you're looking for when you walk in, then you're only going to go to that section. And if a teacher knows she's being observed, then she's going to make sure that all these things, or he is going to make sure that all these things are in place.
And this is not a surprise to them.
Not at all.
They will have this. They will know that the principal may be looking at how you're using no red ink for writing.
Right.
Or Newsella for those articles. You know, if you're using something outside of HMH or Newsella or no red ink, you know, I probably will question that. Why are you using that, that resource? Because right now, we are paying for you to have integrity, no red ink, you know.
We also put,
HMH.
I'm sorry, we also put vocabulary down there as, although that may seem a little odd, but that is where we are the weakest in this district across from K to 12. That is every time we test, our vocabulary is very low. And so we want to make an emphasis on that this year, and also the connection between the reading and the writing. So that's why you see what you see there as an emphasis for what we need to be really focused on. Go ahead if you want to go to 6 through 8.
If you, just with 6-8, you will see that we also have like 4 parts. It looks a little different than elementary because you are now looking more for that meaningful text and high-level text. So we had at the bottom where it says in middle school lessons are typically built around an anchor text, and that it may take 1 to 3 days for that. It may not, you may not complete that in a 1 day or 2 days. It may take 3 days there. But we give things like when you're reading the text, a teacher aloud, what you're focusing on, your target skills, and all of this is aligned with still our teacher clarity. Okay, we still want to make sure that we are seeing that. And for 9-12, same thing. Okay, we have the literature as far as with the HMH. We talk about those tier 1 lessons. We also say that we know it's going to be a 90-minute block. So what are you doing in that 90-minute block? How are you making sure that students are getting what they need? So then there's 3 parts to that. And that doesn't mean that you have 30, 30, 30. You know, it may be 45 minutes, it may be 20 minutes here, but then you may have a reflection piece at the end. But we make sure, we've made sure that we've put those things in there for teachers so that when you're looking at some of the structures like Socratic seminar, you know, we would want to see that, right? We know that that is a, you know, a real reflective practice. We look at the, as far as with the rhetorical analysis, we look at how you facilitate and how you're using those high-level texts for students. So that's going to help our high schoolers as well. You know, we piloted the no red ink at 3 of our schools. They asked for it. Blacksburg Middle was one. Limestone Central was elementary, and then Gaffney High School. They had asked to do that, and so once they started seeing that, we got more people asking, can we go ahead and use that? So we appreciate, you know, Dr. Duke's giving us that opportunity to pilot that and to put it in, because we see that we're not writing as well as we need to across the board. So we needed to look at that too. And when they asked for that, we went out and we looked for that for them to make sure.
So it's more of a writing program? I've not heard of
No,
it.
Yes.
it's a
No
writing
reading.
program. It's digital, but it's a writing program.
Yes.
It's very
Digital writing program.
Yes.
I've not heard that one.
And when I was at Blacksburg one day and I was talking with some 8th grade teachers, one of the 7th grade teachers at Blacksburg was using it, and they said, we've heard of this. And I said, well, we're thinking about a pilot. They said, sign us up. You know, and so the 2, Miss Elliott and, I can't remember her name right now, at Blacksburg Middle, they decided that they would like to pilot it, you know, and we've worked with them. But now the high schools are using it, other middle schools are, you know, are using it. So we hope that they will utilize that as they are working on writing more for our students, because that goes along with what we're doing at Avid, right? So we want to just make sure, like Dr. Duke said, we're not getting anything new. We're just giving them more resources to do what we know would be, you know, best practices.
Any questions, just high-level questions, or just first thoughts from what you see here? Again, teachers will receive a copy of this in our instructional guide. Our coaches will go over it with teachers and provide support, and then we're expecting principals to do the same with their teachers on that first week back in August to kind of lay it out there. But I think we're gonna have these copies made prior to summer leadership, because we do have some schools that are planning over the summer, that are planning to bring teachers in over the summer to do some summer planning. So we want them to have this document to help them plan this summer as well. So any questions or anything you have about the document?
I remember when I was teaching, when students, when their expectations were, my expectations were crystal clear, they were more successful.
Absolutely.
I think that-
Absolutely.
I think we all like some guidance and some guardrails, so
Yeah.
if this is, I think it could be helpful.
So based on this, when we showed this to principals, that's where we came up with some of the, some of the PD programs that we have too.
Right.
So, a lot of it was about what does a high level, or grade level, high quality task look like? If I walk into a classroom, how do I know that that's what I'm looking at? And so we've developed or found and
Still working on.
offered, still working on some PD for those
Right.
things to happen throughout the year. But there's a lot that's already in that document that we were talking about, the summer guide, that's available there, so.
Very good.
That's great.
So this document will be put in a document, this was what we had last year. So we're revising this, we're trying to make this clear, everything, you want some revisions for that. So when they get the new one, they will have this in there along with a few other things that we've just updated and revised. So I think they'll be pleased with that. This will change just a little bit, we still have the content, and instructional vision. This hasn't changed, so we just want to make sure that, like Dr. Duke said, that we're clear with what is expected.
Okay.
All right, last thing is we want to kind of give you like a snapshot of our data and where we are. It's definitely not final because it's really just looking at benchmarks. It's looking at diagnostic assessments. So it's really not anything final.
Right.
But we want to kind of give you like a little high level overview. So if you look in the document, the first thing you see is probably 3rd grade SE Ready math. And so the first column tells you what we are projected to be for 25-26 based on benchmark assessments that we've already given our students.
So not like a goal, that's based on.
That's not the goal,
That's-
that's just the
right.
projection, yeah. And so the next column you will see where we were at this same time in 24-25. Okay? That's right.
But the goal, the reason for having all that behind the 45%, is because what we want you to do is, that's the projection. We want you to see those projections, that path of projection, and see the change. So just because we're projected at, if you look at 24-25, we were projected to only have 34% there. But the actual was 39.5. So we just wanted you to see how we are increasing in our projections, number one. But also, just because it says that, doesn't necessarily mean that that's where we're gonna land.
Yeah.
Are
It
these
can go either way.
conservative projections, do you feel like, or,
These are very conservative
Yes.
projections based
Okay.
on benchmark scores.
so we don't project that they would be lower than this?
I don't.
I mean, you don't,
We have not had any that were
We
lower.
have not seen
We have
any
had
lower.
individual students that were projected to do, and they have scored lower on their projections, the individual student. But as a whole, no, we have not had any to go lower,
okay,
if that makes sense.
yep,
So we're just giving you projections based on, so for middle school, they take 3 benchmarks a year. And so the last benchmark that they take is a cumulative benchmark. The other 2 benchmarks only covers a particular group of standards. So what we're looking at is that last benchmark because it's cumulative.
right.
Yeah.
What do they take, Dr. Dukes,
Ma'am?
in middle school? What's the benchmark testing?
Mastery Connect. We use
Mastery, okay.
Connect, yeah.
Are we still using iReady?
Not in middle school.
But in elementary,
In
yes.
elementary,
Okay,
yes.
So
ma'am.
these math scores that you see were based off of, that's the projection for already.
okay,
ELA is a different story. We can go lower there. The projections can show you a lower score. If you look at your next page, those projections are still there, but sometimes we do drop below those projections, and we're not sure what the already can't give us an exact reason. nor can we figure one out, but there are opportunities for that to decrease as we go, and we don't know why.
So, I think something else I also want you to think about or consider or ponder. Last year was our first year statewide taking the first ELA test for the new standards.
Mm-hmm.
So on that assessment, there were more questions, but there were a lot of field questions that were not graded, but the kids were participated in it. So you can project that your scores are going to be higher in that first initial year. That second year may not be as high because now the state knows, or the testing company knows, what type questions to put on based on the amount of the field test questions that were answered correctly or incorrectly. So there's a possibility that English could go down, and it could be a state level trend, or it can be a district trend. It just depends on the students.
Yeah, because you're not measuring the same child
No,
for
right.
second, third, fourth.
Yeah.
And it's a different
Yeah.
test, because the test they gave last year had a lot of field test questions, and the kids really didn't know if it counted or not, so they just took the test, because that's the whole purpose of it. But this year, you're getting the actual test, and it may look a little different. So just giving you a heads up there.
Yeah, and
in
so,
ELA.
yeah, and then on the third page, when you start from that point on, you'll just see our projections. Because the only reason we showed you those was to show you the differences that the projection says. So the next couple of pages just shows you what we scored last year and what the projections are for this year.
And let me tell you also about math. This is the first year that our kids will take the assessment on the new math standards. So again, there's gonna be a lot of field test questions that we don't know which is gonna count. And that's gonna be whatever grade the students get. Next year, it might look completely different based on that field test. So, and I'll give another example. This year, students will not get any points for math for any progress they've made year to year, because there won't be a test to account for. Because the test they're taking this year is not the same test, so we can't show any growth. So you may get some schools that had a high number of student progress points last year. They will not get that this year, because the only progress that can be made this year is ELA.
That's it.
Right.
You
All
can't
they
get
would be
progress
looking at
in
is
Which was what we had
proficiency.
last year. The same thing happened in ELA last year.
Yeah,
We'll only be looking at proficiency.
yeah.
Is the field test longer, or are they simply
It-
grading
it-
half?
It adds more questions to the
So
actual
it's
test.
more than what they'll take the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the rest of those are just like fourth grade ELA, fourth grade math, fifth grade ELA, fifth grade math, and then the
And again, it's
sciences.
just projection, and like you
Yeah.
said, these are different kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
So, I mean, this is the best we can, for this
So
year.
if you wanna see this year's kid, this year's fourth grade, we would go back to their third grade.
Yeah,
And if they grew from third to fourth in ELA, they get extra points. But you won't have any growth in math, because there is no possibility of growth, because they didn't take the same test last year. So many of our, we can focus on growth, and we do get points for growth. But we really need to focus on achievement, because when they've reached the point of they can't grow anymore, then you won't get any growth points. It's really achievement. And so I'll give an example. Ewing had tremendous growth from the previous year to last year. But they may not have that this year because they're taking math away.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to rely just on
On
ELA.
ELA.
So that's something that we want you to consider when scores come out. I
Yeah.
mean, we hope that they're gonna be high, and we're still moving on up. But that's something you have to take in consideration when you look at the report card, not necessarily the score, because the report card is where that will be.
It'll be statewide.
It's
Oh,
statewide,
yes.
it's not just us, that's right,
and then the one that is consistent is science, because this will be
Yeah.
a consistent
yeah. Fourth grade science.
fourth grade science.
And so,
And eighth.
based on historical data, fourth grade has always been our weakest grade. It's always been our weakest grade.
Wonder why.
I mean, we have thoughts, but
We have thoughts,
Yeah.
but, think fourth grade is, I think third grade is a little bit more, the test is their first time taking a real standardized test. So the test may not, it's still a rigorous test, but it may not be as heavy thinking as the other.
I also think that you have the third grade Read to Succeed law that really is a huge focus for third grade teachers. And so there's a little extra pressure, a little extra thought put into, you know, what you do in a day and, you know, how you prepare children. So I think that's one of the things, but it's consistently the next year we don't see.
This is where we see the dips. Yeah, this fourth grade is where we see the dips. And so we went and provided you with the projections for 6 through 8 and also science as well, based off benchmark scores that our students, the last benchmark in middle school was, when was the last benchmark?
Right before spring break.
Right before spring break.
Mhm.
Right before spring break. And then high school had their last benchmark,
April 20th.
April 20th.
It hurts me so bad to see 7th and 8th grade math. So
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always discouraging.
Yeah, that is so.
I mean, Algebra 1, 19% projected. I mean, you could take any slice, you know, and think it, and I know you all have, because that's what you do every day. But beyond what we're doing, what can we do to help these students?
So I say one thing.
Let me
around
preference.
that. Okay, you're gonna say.
Let me preference that the algebra 1 that you see right now is probably 20 kids,
Okay.
And it's repeaters.
and it's repeaters, all at Gaffney High School.
Yes, they're repeating.
They're repeating for the second and third time.
Yes. Mhm.
Because.
So the reason for that is this year is the new math standards. Geometry is now the 9th grade course.
Right.
Algebra 1 moved to 10th grade. So next year, you're gonna probably have 600 or 700 kids taking Algebra 1, and that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
Because these kids now are in geometry.
And Dr. Dix is right, we had 22 students
Yeah, so it's,
for this 19%.
yeah. And they're all taking Algebra 1
Again.
second or third time.
And that's the second hit.
It's second hit.
Only had ones that they didn't pass it the first time, not passing it now. Now, what some districts do, and you know, our policy says if the student does not have 50, they cannot be in credit recovery. Some places put them all in credit recovery, and they don't take the second hit because they recover. But when they take the course over, because it's obvious they hadn't learned it, so they need to, you know, take it over, and you know, these are the results. But sometimes in some places, you know, I'm not saying cheat the system, but
Well, why aren't we doing that? I mean, what do you think the thought was behind? I mean, that's a decision somebody made.
it's policy that you have to have at least 50 to do credit recovery.
And credit recovery is all online, right?
All online.
But I guess those kids didn't have a 50.
Yes.
But again,
They didn't learn the material,
they didn't learn the material.
and it's gonna hurt them in the long run.
It's gonna hurt
The
them
other
in the long
classes,
run.
courses in high school.
But, you know, there are ways around things, so, you know. We believe that teachers that are teaching any EOC course should have common planning, where they have opportunities to plan together during the school day. And so, I think I haven't spoke to the new principal at Gaffney High, and he has required that to be in the schedule. And so just requiring common planning for Algebra 1, English 2, US History, and Biology is a huge step in the right direction, because they don't have that now.
Oh, good.
So we feel that that's a step in the right direction, so if they can plan 90 minutes a week, and I think he's made the expectation, you will plan together once a week, whereas the expectation now is once a month.
After school.
After school. So sometimes it just takes the expectation to change, if that makes sense.
With English 2, if you look at that page, I think where it says Algebra 1, it's supposed to be English 2, so don't look at that. But if you look at the projection from the first semester for 25-26, it was projected at 56%. And then it says the actual was like 60. We're hoping that that is a trend.
Yes.
Okay, good.
We hope that that is the trend. We won't know until maybe next week. But, you know, they did look at the benchmark just last week. And we're hoping to, if we can see that. Dr. Dukes and I were looking at the benchmark and just seeing how it correlated with, you know, when they do an analysis. And it was pretty spot on. What we're seeing in benchmark and then what we would get with just a few outliers. So we looked at that last semester. So we're hoping that using the benchmarks and doing more of a data dive with that will help them when they are looking at how they are going to prepare those students 3 or 4 weeks after that benchmark before they take the test, because that's usually what they have. They have about 3 weeks after that second benchmark where the students are taking that test. So we're saying, look at those questions. Look where you are with that. How many students are, you know, with this particular standard. And that's what we tried to do this year. And even at the high school, they brought in subs so the English 2 department could meet, and they did that twice this past year, that they all could meet together. And the instructional coaches, Heather White and I were over there looking at that data and helping as far as with that scoring for the writing as well. So I think that did make a difference for that particular group, that EOC.
What about Blacksburg?
They had 2, they only have 2 that's teaching English 2, and they work really well together.
Yeah, they already have
Oh
a
my
schedule
gosh,
where they're
yeah,
meeting
they have that
every-
schedule. Dr. Hamilton and Miss Vaughn, Jessica,
Yeah.
they work really well together, and they work with Shelley too, you know, and so we did see that jump
Okay, good.
at Blacksburg, you know. But again, sometimes when you see where does someone need a little bit more focus, that's what we did. But they actually worked together, the instructional coaches.
Good.
Shelley came over to work with them, and then she took it back to Blacksburg.
Who's Shelley?
She's the instructional coach for Blacksburg High School.
Is that her first name, last name?
Her first name is Shelley, yeah, Mackle.
What's the last name?
Mackle,
Michael.
yeah.
Any other questions that you want us to kind of dig into to answer? These are all projections. Typically, when we look at benchmark scores, like Dr. Whiteside mentioned, it's between 3 to 5 percentage points. So it's a really good indicator to let the teacher and the principals know this is where you're heading. And so you have an opportunity to make some course corrections as needed. It breaks it down by standard. It tells you which standards and which group of students are not meeting that standard. So the reporting that they get for the benchmark is phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Just utilizing it.
Just utilizing it.
For the on-time graduation rate, that says grad rate 24-25. Should that be 25-26? Is that the projected right there? Or what's the projected for this year?
We don't have a projection.
Okay.
And we don't like to give a projection
Okay.
until they've graduated. So once they've graduated and we've taken a look at the students that started 4 years ago and see where they are, because some of those kids have dropped out, so forth. So we didn't want to give you a projection until we have the actual students that graduate, because right now there are some students on the line that are doing a little bit extra work right now to meet that requirement. So we did not give you a projection for grad rate.
So that's just actual?
That's actual.
Okay.
Mhm.
Bless you.
Yep.
Pulling IT sometimes for these seniors, right?
Huh?
Pulling IT for some of these seniors sometimes at the very end.
We pull, I think Dr. Whiteside pulls a report and she shares with principals of those students that are, that need a little extra push.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, most of the time they get over the line, but it's just it's a headache to get them to see it. And then they wait until the last minute and you gotta get them over the line. And,
Yeah, well, Edgenuity, I just sent a report to both principals and to their APs on students who are in Edgenuity right now, those seniors, because I meet with the Edgenuity folks out of Imagine Learning every month. But I go in and pull and see where our seniors are, and it gives a targeted grade for them, and we have, like Blacksburg had maybe 7 or 8 that had already completed. It was in Edgenuity, but it gave them who had completed, how many are close, you know, and it ends next week. So, you know, because if you want to graduate on time, you have to have that complete in there. So I sent that, like Dr. Duke said, sent that to both the principals, although they can look at it too. I just did a little extra saying, you might want to look at this baby right here, because what we've noticed, and this is my second year, 2 or 3 students make a big difference.
It does.
In that graduation, where it may bump you
Right.
to that point. And what was written on here is about how many points that you get at the high school for your report card.
Right.
Yeah, it's huge. CCR is another thing that we're
That's what I
working
was
on.
looking at.
Why are we down, do you think, Dr. Dukes, or Dr. White, with a college and career ready over last year, like projected, it's about 10 percentage
You looking
points.
at that pink there?
I mean, just
Green.
the green and
Yes.
yellow,
Mhm.
down in all 3.
because you still have students at this moment still trying to get CCR.
Okay,
Yes.
And so you have some
you expect that to grow?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
Some may
have
change then.
Right,
maybe.
you
Yeah.
have some that need to finish a course and they could be CCR, and
Good.
that course doesn't finish until the end.
Okay.
You have students that are still trying to this wind testing. I know
They just finished wind testing, and
Mhm.
we have work-based learning.
Donnie was doing some,
Mhm.
what was he doing?
ASVAB.
ASVAB testing with some kids to
Okay.
get them CCR.
Yep,
So the schools are still working to this day.
good.
to get
trying
them
to
career
get
ready.
kids
Oh,
CCR.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there's been more talk about, okay, we can't just wait till they're seniors.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're looking at freshmen, those courses like microburst. So we're looking at sophomore year when you're gonna be taking some of those courses, or when you have a chance to take some of those courses that can help you for CTE. We have many students that don't take CTE courses, you know, that could help them become,
Yep,
you know, career ready for the college. You know, we wanna make sure by the time they're juniors, they're taking the SAT, ACT, you know, getting those students. And then work-based learning. That is kind of like it's the last resort for some of our students who cannot pass the WEN,
Yeah.
ASVAB, you know, SAT, ACT. But we want to get them those 40 hours. And so we're very thankful that Spartanburg Regional helped us with some students that are going to be working with them this summer.
Right.
So
it's a great program.
Yes, great program. But we're always looking, Freightliner.
Yep,
They're gonna help us out a little more next year of having some students go there. So, yeah, we're trying to do that before that senior year, because you all know what's going on with some of our
Yep.
seniors. They're done.
no, that work-based
Yes.
learning piece is critical
Yes, it is. Mhm.
for so many reasons, so glad to see us plugged in with that.
Yeah.
It means a lot for the students to have that social capital and to get that
Yeah.
experience and to see if that's what they wanna do, and if they are marked on their IGP correctly, then we get that check mark too, so,
That's a big.
But we're being transparent with you all. We're trying to make sure you know where we are.
yeah.
And, but and they're working. The CDFs are working, Mr. Hale, they're working to try to get more of our students, career ready. So,
I think the bulk of our students typically are career ready. It's the college ready
Oh,
that
yes.
they're not.
mm-hmm.
So the career ready piece, I think we typically have really good numbers
We
there.
do. Mm-hmm.
It's the college ready is where we're not as high.
So like Ms. Shackelford said, just making sure we're plugged in and power schools, those schools are really being cognizant of what they're supposed to do, right?
And opportunities for those students. Because you all have, like you said, you provided the resources when Dr. Dukes or the curriculum have come to you. But just like with Edgenuity, you know, that gives more of our students an opportunity for that credit recovery that can help them stay in school, you know. And we work with the adult ed too, because talking with them just a few months ago, where they said, we know that we've got some students that are not coming to school, they've dropped out. What can we do? They're 17 years old. Let's get them back here so we can help them to graduate. Again, it does make a difference with some of those students.
And dual enrollment, you know, when you all decided to pay for the books, that really helped to increase more numbers of students to take dual enrollment. And then, you know, when they take those 2 classes and get 6 hours, then they're automatically career ready.
Yes.
So that helps too. Just paying for a book made a huge difference for some of them.
Yeah, we appreciate that support that you're giving them.
Yeah.
As we're seeing that.
Any other questions or thoughts or anything else you would like us to do to continue, push forward?
I just want to say as a parent and going through, and I mean, this is not just an issue that we have here. I hear about it. I have colleagues that have kids at Dorman, Spartan High, all the same thing. But that 10-minute IGP meeting that you have with that counselor is not enough. And those they do not know what they want to do. Mostly, some do. Some have it figured out, right? Most do not. And just that, the FaceTime with the guidance counselors that they're getting is not enough. The guidance counselors have such a workload, hundreds of kids that they're trying to funnel through a system, right? And trying to get registration lined up with SEC. Like, I don't know how they pull it all together even every year and they make it work, right? So it is not a hit to guidance counselors at all. But some way and some time, we're gonna have to figure out how to get navigators in these schools that can sit down with these kids and really figure out, what is your plan? What are you thinking? I mean, really have those intensive conversations with them while they're taking classes and through the year, because the one touch point every year for the kids who are not gonna make it or don't know, or just they're going through because they're in a funnel and, you know, then they get out and then who knows what I'm gonna do. It's not helpful, because even for parents who are plugged in, it is super hard to know what to do, what the right thing to do is when you're trying to balance, you know, what they want to do, what you should do, what can we do. So I just want to say that I believe we have as many options as any district probably around in terms of AP, dual enrollment, I-squared, and we make it work for those kids. But sometimes they don't know what's available. Sometimes if they've never taken dual enrollment and college is not, if they're first gen and don't think that they're not gonna step outside a comfort zone. And having 10 minutes with a guidance counselor, I'm just saying they need more. They need more. And I know more means more money and all that, but just for the kids who don't have the guidance and support at home, or parents don't know what they don't know, that's the hard piece. You know, and what does career ready mean? I mean, on paper, it's helpful for us, but not many of these kids are truly career ready. They might be ready for a job somewhere, you know, at Walmart or Aldi. They cannot earn enough at those jobs to support a family or themselves. So I just want us to think beyond what, I appreciate all the work that's gone into this, and I think we're on the right path. I just look forward to a day where we can start looking post-secondary too, and get our students where they need to be, and that we can have industries here that need that kind of workforce, right? Where they need a bachelor's degree, or a certificate, or a technical. I mean, all those things is what we need. for an economy, but you know, I see it all the time, and I mean, an IGP, those kids, they walk in, they don't know, they sign my sheet, you know, well, what does this mean for you in your future? And if they fall through the cracks.
One of the things too, and I'm glad you brought that up, is that we're going to implement SCOAS back into.
Wow. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
It's free.
And it's free.
It's free.
It's free.
And so that's what we're working on. Like I said, I'm glad you said that, because we had a meeting with our counselors just a few weeks ago to talk about that very thing, how we need kids to go in and look at where they may follow their interests, because it's kind of like an interest inventory, and then it tells them if they're on track, you know, and what their interests may be if you want to go to a college or a 2-year college or even career. And I was like, we've got to tap into those resources and be more intentional about that. So that's what we're doing again.
Yep.
You know, so I just want to let you know that it may
That's
not
good.
solve what,
No, that's
what
good.
you're
And
saying.
I think the network that the CDFs have with the Spartanburg districts now, that network, that coalition, that cohort, that helps them see what it really looks like.
Oh, yeah.
And I've heard great things about our folks from them. I've passed that along to Dr. Fitzpatrick. And I think that can only help strengthen what
Yes.
and that goes to the internship opportunities that will be here. We started with Spartanburg Regional,
Right.
expand to Freightliner. Hopefully that will continue to smaller firms. You know, I think about accounting and, you know, niche type firms that we have here, but architectural firms, all those things that kids need, all the exposure.
But yeah, I'll let you know about how that's working
Do
out.
that.
But we're gonna make sure that it was a technical thing this time for us to make sure that it was accessible to our students. And so I'm working with the guy at the State Department.
Terrific.
Yeah, to make sure that we have
That's
that
good.
in place for next year.
So we have the CDFs, and we have grad coaches at both schools
Yes.
too. So, I mean, those are ones that should be targeting some of those students.
Are.
I mean, and that probably are. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
They just
some of
hired
them are.
one there, and Dr. Black can tell you, we walk in the afternoon sometimes just to decompress.
Decompress.
Yes, but when we hit the track over there, the graduation coach has also been helping with the track, but she will flag me down. Dr. White said, I need to talk to you about this, you know, because we made sure that she had access, although she is not a certified person, but she has access to Edgenuity. We made that happen so she could go in and start targeting those students, you know, but she'll flag me down and say, don't look at Edgenuity yet, let me finish something, because I said, I'm going in on Friday to look. But she has been more intentional about those students. I mean, you probably can talk to Dr. Blatton and some of the counselors about what she's doing. And we have more attendance issues that we can talk about today. But that's one of the things that she has been working on, that
What's her
graduation coach. Labrisha Ratchford.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, the CDF at Blacksburg High, she's really good.
Whitney
Oh, she's
Black.
good. Whitney's great.
Yes.
She's great.
She stays
I
on
knew
it.
her when she was in high school.
She
She's great.
stays on it, and
Give
she
her a
has
lot of
helped.
kudos.
Yeah.
She has helped Gaffney. She's
Yeah,
helped
she's
Charles
good.
Blue. You know, she made sure that ASVAB was given again last Friday. You know, and I like what Coach Littlejohn is doing. He's keeping us updated about the athletes because he wants 100%.
Yes, he does.
100%, and he's telling them before you come out here on this field,
Yep.
we're gonna have this.
That's
We're gonna
right.
get there.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there.
Got
In a
a lot of
perfect
great
world,
personnel.
perfect world, you could CDF clone Miss Black for both.
Oh, yes.
That would be a
The
perfect.
graduation
She's
coach,
great,
you could
yeah.
clone Miss Ratchford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're exactly
So,
right.
you know,
Let me
perfect
tell you,
world.
that Coach Blue, though, I think since we've started the
He
CDF
has
piece,
done-
he has really embraced it. And I've heard from Dr. Owings how much he has learned. And I just think sometimes, and I'm not saying this is the case, anytime you're in a new position, you don't know
Right.
what you don't know, you don't know what questions to ask.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him that we have now this whole group from all of the districts in
Yes.
Union, and they can help each other, right?
Right.
And just get that professional development and see what it's like on the ground, what the talent gap analysis is, what it really looks like, what we'll need to see in 2 years. It's really helpful.
But they meet every month. And that's one thing, when Dr. Gibson comes, you know, he may have other ways that he would like for us to utilize Ms. Ratchford. But right now, the CDFs meet with Mr. Hill and his CDF, who's Travis Johnson, is over there. So we all meet monthly to look at the college and career ready, look at those courses, you know, and then report back to Dr. Dukes or, you know, Mr. Mullinax or Dr. Blanton on what we're seeing.
Good.
You know, so.
I love that kind of intensive case management. That's really what it's gonna take.
A little bit more effort. That's all it takes.
That's it.
Yeah, right. Well, let us know what you need.
Well, last thing, if you guys, I want to talk about GT. And so, talked with some principals, had some concern about how we're doing GT. So I asked for confidential feedback for each one of other elementary principals. I talked to our CNI department, and everyone I talked to 13 people, 12 said the way we're doing is not working.
Oh.
One said, don't know, maybe, but the way we're currently doing GT, according to everyone I've talked to in research, it's not effective.
12 out of
13. So,
Well, I applaud you for being willing to survey and pivot, because what we don't want to do is keep going down some road that we all know is probably not the right path, and to end up, I mean, good.
yeah, and moving it from under Dr. Fox and communications back to academics. Had some, and CNI had some conversations with these guys too about what do we need to do to make it work. And the number one thing I've heard is change. And so I talked to the principal of the school where it's housed, feels the same way, and all of the other principals. Again, there was one that was, you know, felt like, well, maybe, but 12 out of 13. And I want to get all input from all individuals involved. So on Wednesday, we're meeting with the GT teachers. Okay. But chances are 99.999% is going to change from being housed at one place, moving back to housing it in the schools and giving principals the responsibility to observe, evaluate those teachers in their building. Instruction in your building, as a principal, instructional leader, you need to be able to go in and do observations and give feedback and that sort of thing. So that's where we're heading. Just want to give you guys a heads up. But I am going to meet with we're going to meet with the teachers Wednesday so that we have all input from everybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
So is the teachers that's saying negative, or is it the principals that's saying it's negative, or is it both?
Pretty much across the board. I hadn't got all the feedback from the teachers yet because I meet with them Wednesday. I had a couple reach out to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you had to, I know you haven't compiled everything, but if you had to pick 2 of your top complaints that you heard the most, what would you say are maybe your top 2 or 3 complaints you've heard from?
Well, since you asked. Students are missing instruction on the days they participate in GT. One of the rules is that the instruction in the class could not have any new instruction while students are out in GT, so they're missing a day of instruction a week. Some buses are late. The content that the students are working on, we had a parent share a packet of work that students had done in GT, I think for a quarter. And when I looked at it, I really and truly was shocked. It was not anything that would push students or any enrichment. It looked more like, you know, what I would expect to see in a remediation packet.
Oh,
Right.
And so that was a concern.
Yeah.
And so when we look at the curriculum that it should be working with, really not doing that.
Oh.
And so those are some
Accountability.
things that are some concerns. But the accountability piece is having them in the building, having the principal be responsible for ensuring that teachers are teaching the curriculum and ensuring that we're having rigorous lessons in our GT classes. Because I think from a social standpoint, probably works bringing everybody together. But when we talk about our GT kids who are high flyers that we really need to be pushing, I don't think they're being pushed currently.
What about our numbers? Because I know that was a concern about a year ago about our numbers. We're sending people, was it on Fridays, they go back to their schools or something and work on the brain boosters or whatever? And
with our numbers, we, and this conversation I've had with CNI so far, the students that are enrichment students that qualify in one area, not both, we're gonna add them back. Because, just like in a high school AP class, just because you don't pass the AP exam doesn't mean they haven't prepared you to do well in college. Same thing here. Put them in there, make sure that, we're challenging the students, make sure there's high level of rigor, and so the students will benefit from it. So
you're let me make sure I'm right. You're adding the enrichment students into the GT
back,
program?
yeah,
Back to the end. Okay,
back,
okay,
yes,
good.
ma'am.
The current GT numbers right now going into next year, if you're looking at just GT identified, it's 57 kids, 3 to 5.
So it's not gone, it has not increased?
So when you look at your current second graders that are moving into GT, I think it's only 7 or 8 that qualify, correct?
That's right.
Across the district?
Across the district.
You're looking at 400
Yeah.
students.
Yeah.
Oh my gracious.
And definitely
School
we
reading.
will have some expectations, and we will inspect what we expect with brain boosters, and with when they go back into the class, the teacher doing that work with brain boosters also. I think there's some things, just talking with everyone, that can be effective if they're done correctly.
Right.
I just don't think we've had the oversight and the amount of evaluation from administrators because of the change. And it was good. If something's not working, do it different. Do something different.
Right.
We tried it.
We knew,
Right.
we
Not
knew this
working,
was
so
a big experiment, big bet.
Yeah.
So we do have over 100 students that qualified in one area.
Mhm.
So there are over 100 that took the PTA. We don't have those results back yet. We can tell you later if that number increases or not.
Is there a way to survey parents too? I mean, I know you risk groupthink. It can turn into but to maybe get a sample of what parents think about the program.
We can do a survey.
Just thinking. I mean, it doesn't have to be long. Maybe 3 questions, 4 questions, but just to get a sense of because they know if their child is enjoying the experience.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anyone about,
I have
from the parent side,
Mm-hmm.
about it not being a good thing. Or
I have.
You
I-
have?
Yeah, but it's anecdotal and it's not terrible and it's not a big complaint. But just I don't like it. But
Yeah, I think I talked to a parent who's also an employee. I mean, said they liked it, the child enjoyed it, but they didn't think they were getting
not worth it.
what they needed out of it. Yes.
So my concern last year when we talked about this was the Blacksburg kids, that long transportation over here for an elementary kid. We can kids understand when they're in high school going to I swear, but that long transportation, that did concern me. But that also, there were not many Blacksburg kids over there that qualified. So would the numbers be there to?
Well, last year, Blacksburg Elementary had the most GT
Oh,
identified
okay, I
kids.
misunderstood then. Okay.
Yes. They just left some of them didn't participate this year because they didn't
Oh,
want to go.
Gotcha.
So that's why their numbers went down.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they
Okay.
typically have the most
Well, good then.
identified.
And
Okay.
fifth grade is our grade that has, that still, currently, our fifth grade students are the ones that have the enrichment kids still in the classroom. All of those kids are now gone.
Yeah,
So when you start looking at numbers now, you're just getting qualifiers.
right.
So there's no enrichment students. We have lived in the GT world off of our enrichment students, but very few of those would then qualify just because they were in GT with other GT students. Would they then qualify? Because I think our focus was different, because if they've qualified in this area, and then we're gonna ask them to take another qualifier for the other area, so we're kind of thinking about how that might feel to a GT student.
Yeah.
But isn't fifth grade our largest GT?
That's right now. Right now,
They're the largest.
they're the largest group, and that's the largest group in Blacksburg.
Okay.
In the country.
But we'll lose them.
And we're,
Yeah, they're just
and
going
we're
to
losing
sixth
them.
grade, yeah.
Yeah.
they're going-
Yeah.
Well, thank you for looking at that,
That's
so we
fine.
can make a change
Yeah.
before we get too far down the road.
Yes.
But I think we're also gonna make changes in school assignments.
Uh-huh.
So a teacher that may be comfortable at so-and-so school probably won't be at that school next
Okay.
year.
That's-
'Cause we need
that's-
to switch it up a little bit and
Oh.
change
Right.
it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does.
That's all I have.
That's all we have.
All right.
Okay,
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
so move.
All right.